So from the moment of conception and every moment afterwards, we are marching forward in life. And at some point, we'll march forward to our time of completion, to the time of our physical death and the ending of our lives here in this physical world. One of the reasons why I started reading this book, I've decided to live 120 years, is that probably once I got into my 50s, I really started to feel like that's when I was hitting my stride, where things really started to make sense, where I started to feel really whole and was at a place of understanding in my life and in my relationships, and things started to have more of a flow to them, that there was less chaos in my life. There was certainly more peace and more satisfaction and an awful lot of love and wonderful things happening. And there may have been just as much of that happening before, but I wasn't always aware of it because I was always all over the place in my analytical brain and my forward-thinking, my hard-thinking, judgmental self was in so many different places, grasping at so many things, often just straws. So we think of life here in Western culture as that we're aging, we're getting old, and often by the time we are in our 20s, people are already starting to get a little antsy about what old means and feeling old. I remember thinking that my parents were really ancient when they were in their 40s and 50s. And now that I'm in my 60s, I think, oh, they were just such young things. But it's interesting thinking about life, and it's interesting thinking about our mortality and what happens during this latter period. And I think too often in Western culture, we do think of it as a negative. And like he said, many of us are just waiting for our bodies to fall apart and die. That's where most of Western culture is. And some people are fighting that, and they fight it by getting Botox and having all kinds of plastic surgeries, or we may have all other kinds of modalities or vitamins or whatever else that we take in order to slow down the process. And I admit that I'm kicking and screaming in some respect on that, but always had a plan. I remember my 20s and 30s looking at women like Rita Moreno and Tina Turner, and some of these women that were in at the time were probably in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and really taking on life. I had met a couple of women that were in their 80s who were, you would have thought they were in their 20s and 30s, the way they were going at life, and had a zest for life, and had an energy for life that was greater than so many 20s and 30-year-olds that I knew. And I still know some folks in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who are lapping around life so much more powerfully than people in their 20s and 30s. So what do we think about this phase of life? And if you're not there yet, if you're still in your 20s, 30s, early 40s, what are you thinking about that stage? One of the books that I'm reading for a class is Small Creatures Such as We by Sasha Sagan. And one of the things she talks about is when she was in grade school, and during Halloween, they all went in their costumes to a retirement home, and they did a little parade for the residents there. And she thought it was terrifying because she saw older people, and a lot of them probably close to making their transitions, some who were very ill, some who were in wheelchairs, some who were kind of frozen in life in that time, not able to speak, not able to walk, not able to do for themselves, and it was horrifying for her. She didn't know what to do about that. And a lot of us, no matter how old you are still looking at that age, at an elderly age, and a more mature stage like that. But in metaphysics, in unity, in new thought, we always think about life has a different meaning, has a deeper meaning. There's always something else going on behind the scenes, more than what you're seeing on its face. And so how could we apply that to life as we move towards what Ilchi Lee calls a time of completion, this latter stage of life when many people are already just thinking about the spiral downhill physically and mentally? What do we do with that phase? In Korean culture, they approach it differently, and they think of life stages as stages of the soul, and they actually have 3 words to talk about the stages of life. And one of them, so they talk about it in the context of the soul, and these 3 words all have the same root, eol, E-O-L, which means soul or spirit. And they consider the first third of life that we are soul children, and that we are just showing up, trying to figure out what's going on. And it's called Irini, that you are a child. And a person in the period of success is when you're in the middle there. You're an adult, and you may be starting to figure things out, and you're working towards success in your life, but you're in a period of growth. And they call that Irarun. The third stage is when a person is in a period of completion, and it's called Irushin, that you are now an elder. But again, the common denominator of the word is Eo, spirit or soul. And that from the beginning of life, we are on this journey of the soul. And so what of the soul in latter years? What of the soul in those middle years when you're on this drive for success, for finding your place in life, for establishing a lifestyle? And maybe you're still doing that now in this, what they're calling the third stage, or the stage of the elder. It says here an adult who has entered old age is called an Irushin, an elder. It means someone whose spirit is like a god, someone who has brilliant, godlike wisdom. If children in their period of growth are in the Longchung phase, when they build up their physical power, then adults in their period of success are in the Kingjong phase, when they know how to use their heart power, the energy of the soul, in an expansive way. Elders in the final stage, the period of completion, are at the Sinmyong stage, when they have the energy of wisdom capable of wide-ranging insight into the principles of nature and life. To put it another way, Irushin are enlightened elders whose divine energy in their upper danjan, here in this energy center in the brain, now shines brightly. In the tradition Korean culture, a person's lifestyle is judged by their eol, their soul and spirit, rather than their body, and getting older is considered a process of completion for developing and illuminating the soul and the spirit. What if we thought of aging as a time of getting brighter? A time of illumination. A time to turn up the burner, so to speak, on the soul, and burn more brightly, more warmly. Shining that light for more, and shining it outside of yourself. Shining outside of yourself. Knowing that that fire within you is infinite. And it shines as far and as wide as you choose to shine it. What if aging were not about the death of the body, the slow decline of the body, but that we thought of it as the expansion of the soul and the expansion of our light? What then would you feel about getting older? What then would you think about what might be another 20, 30, 40 years? I'm still holding out for another 50 because I think I got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. Yeah. Yeah. What if our focus from decline to expansion, and from a dwindling light to an expanding light? And what if we approached each day like that? I've been listening to a lot of Joe Dispenza lately. And he asks himself a question each morning and invites us to ask that same question: what does greatness look like today? What does greatness look like today? Not just waking up, rolling out of bed, slogging through your day, ticking off the things you got to do. What if you thought about greatness? What if you asked the universe first thing in the morning, what could greatness look like today for me? How can I shine more brightly today? And perhaps you're still doing the things you're called to do. Wash the dishes, prepare meals, take care of children, grandchildren, maybe go to work, take care of business, go grocery shopping. What if there were greatness in all of that? What if there was greatness in preparation of a meal? What if there were greatness in the enjoyment of your meal? What if you thought of your meal before you even start to eat as love and light coming into the body and nourishing it fully? What if you blessed your food rather than doing some rote blessing? Because I have some I can rattle off in the middle of the night, half asleep, that I learned as a little girl. But what if the blessing were truly about every single cell of your body and bringing love and light to yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, so that you can shine more brightly for yourself and for your inner world, your family, your friends, but for the world at large? And use that as a springboard for your greatness for however many more years you have. And at this time, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, hundreds. My paternal grandmother lived to be 106. That means I got about 41 more years to break her record. Yeah. What could I do with 41 more years? What could you do with 41 more years? What if you just didn't accept the fact that, maybe I got another few and I'm going to eke it out? Try not to fall completely apart. even as you feel physically like you're falling apart, but to affirm that you're getting stronger and brighter, that you're more expansive than you've ever been, that you're more of a blessing than you've ever been, that you're wiser than you've ever been, that there's so much more to learn, to take in, to embody. Even if we just think about our innate divinity, that leaves the door wide open for growth and expansion beyond our wildest dreams. Beyond our wildest dreams. Because it's divinity that created the stars and the cosmos in this beautiful world that we have. And so we are capable of all of that power, all of that light. We are capable of creating amazing, magnificent things. And yet I think our focus is way too narrow, way too small. And we don't use our imaginations as much as we could about what's possible for us to be and to do. Where you are in life now, are you respected and loved? Do people come to you for advice? Are you looked to as someone who is wise? Who has something to give? Who has walked through the fire and has something to share? If not, why not? You're hiding your light. Have you judged yourself? Too small? Not worthy? Are you comparing yourself with someone else? You know, in this world of social media and we get to look into people's lives, probably far too much into people's lives. Lord, have mercy. Ooh. There's way too much information about people's lives in the world right now. But all it does is give you fodder for comparison. Fodder for comparison. And I think far too often we judge ourselves as less than others. Far too often. We don't all come from the same place. We didn't all have the same advantages. We didn't all have the same disadvantages, whatever you want to call them. But what we all have is innate divinity. The power to create. The power to do magnificent things, the power to change whatever exists now to whatever it is you can conceive and believe, no matter what it is. And it doesn't matter how long you've been at one level. In the next instant, you can be at another one because you decided it so. What legacy do you want to leave? What legacy do you want to leave? What legacy have you left already? Have you thought of the impact? Because there's always an impact. There's always one. We always leave what a good friend of mine calls heart prints all over. We leave an imprint with everybody we come in contact with, whether we speak to them or not, whether we touch them or not. So what are you leaving with others? And do you want to change that? Do you want to expand that? What do you want to do with the time that's left? Do you want to get to a time of completion and be a luminous being in this world? And perhaps afterwards, I don't know what happens afterwards. But I believe that some form, that the energy of us does continue. And what kind of form, I don't know. Maybe there are ancient peoples right here in this room. Maybe there's the energy of them right here in this room right now because they wanted to be specifically with us right here. Think of that. What if some of those that we have loved and lost, that are not here any longer on the physical plane, are right here with us in this room right now? Because they wanted more time with us. Maybe they wanted to have this experience in this service with you. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody who's going to come into physical existence 30 years from now who's here now having this experience. I don't know what's possible. I think that all things are possible. In this wide, magnificent world. And that means you are infinitely possible in this world. You are far more than you've ever judged yourself to be. You have far more light. Far more light. Far more fire in your souls than you've let yourself burn. Far more power than you've ever harnessed is sitting within you right now, waiting for you to say yes and call it forth. Waiting for you. And yes, as Desiree read to us, we have spirit. Our words have spirit in life. And you get to speak the words of your heart. You get to speak the words of your heart. And you get to give them life. And you get to manifest whatever it is your heart's desire in this experience that we're having together. The question is, what do you want? And what will you ask for? Will you ask for what you want? Will you let your heart speak? And then will you step forward, knowing that the power of the universe is not just behind you, but within you in the manifestation of it? Let's take this in a meditation. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. As Doug said, we are swimming in magic. Swimming in magic. An endless ocean of possibilities. An endless ocean of power and light, of love. We have only to open our eyes to it take off the blinders. We have only to wipe away whatever mud or dirt is on that windshield that we look through at life. We have only to look within ourselves and see our own light. And to know it as infinite, ever expanding. Infinite, powerful beyond measure. And what about the next 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60 years of life? How much life will you allow yourself to live? How much light will you let yourself shine? How much light will you let yourself shine? How much joy can you stand? How much love can you let in and give back to humanity? Will you let yourself use your power of imagination and let it run wild? Can you imagine only expanding life from here on in? Looking at life with both arms wide open, with an open mind, an eager, excited soul, yet grounded and centered. Can you stand in your truth, knowing that there's possibly a greater truth, a different truth, a deeper understanding to explore? Are you willing to ask more questions of life? Are you willing to live in a world of possibility? without holding to convention or any narratives about what aging is. And walk towards more life, more love, more joy, more peace. More wisdom, more freedom, expansive freedom. So that whenever you take your last breath, there's a smile on your face and a light in your eyes. Arms open wide to whatever is next after this physical existence. Ready for the next adventure. Ready for the next adventure. Let's take a deep breath together. Breathing in life, exhaling more life. Inhaling life, expansive life. Exhaling life and love and peace and blessings, knowing that as you exhale, there's even more to inhale and take in and to embody and to experience and to love. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen.